Alright, hello everyone, welcome back once again. I am Nicodemus Kane. Today is the 22nd. Oh, it's February the 22nd of 2023. So, numerologically speaking, that's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? To be fair, 222 to 2023, you could go many different ways with what could be happening today and tomorrow. Now remember, I've said the 322 or the 223, that is the number of the skull and bones. We've seen that many times floating around in movies, television. Not as much as we see, like, the 9/11 or the 3/11 or the 9/23, But the 223 we see pop up. Since this is the year of the year of evil, 2023, I always say be cautious. It doesn't mean that anything's coming. It doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. But when things happen, they do tend to happen around the dates that we happen to see. Numerologically speaking. So yes, just be wary. I was hearing something about another train crash in, where'd it go? Another train derailment full of hazardous materials. If you're not catching on by now, I don't know what to say. Train derailment. Yeah, you don't need to know my location to tell me about a train derailment in the Mideast. Nebraska involves 30 plus cars carrying coal. Well, there's that for you. So well, if you don't see it by now, what are you gonna do? And when did this happen? Did this happen on well, that happened yesterday. But the the Ohio thing, when did that happen? The 3rd of February. Is that right? The 3rd of February? Has it already been 20 days? 19 days? Seriously. Wow. So it was the day after the 33rd day of the year? I'm just saying that it was a 2/3/23. Think about that for a second. It's a real thing. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about it. The numerology is a thing. It's out there, and it pops up a lot. Some people seem to think that numbers mean nothing. Okay, numbers mean nothing in regards to what you do with them. You can add and subtract and do all these things and whatever, that's fine. There's no true symbology there, but there are evil men in this world that use those numbers as a signal to others in order to show this is our thing. This is our date. This is our time. This is our whatever it is. This is our hallmark of something. This let's say it's in a movie. This is our movie this is our movie, and to show that we made this movie, to show that our people had a hand in making this movie, here's a symbol. Here's a sign to show you. It's like the signs that you see underneath the welcome sign to a city. You see the Freemasons. You see, maybe you'll see the Eastern Star. Maybe you'll see something else. I don't know, the Kiwanis Club, whatever it is. That's to show that this town has these people in it, these groups in it, so that you have fellow brothers and sisters, quote unquote, that you can go see. Well, these people have used symbology for years. It's the same process. It's those people that have gone into television, movies, books, comic books. I've said it before. It's in comic books too. It's amazing how it's in comic books, all the way back to the 60s. I've been reading some old comics for the past couple years, 60s and 70s books, and it's amazing how it's not in there as much as the new stuff. I could show you more examples of newer books that has it in it than older books, but the older books still has it in it. Certain artists, certain writers, certain guys. Not everybody does it, but certain guys you can tell, and then you can cross-reference that back to other books that they wrote, and you're like, well, there's one there too. So you get it, you see it. Certain directors do the same thing. Certain, movie, TV guys. It's a language that they have, that they talk to each other, and there is a point to it, so much so that events happen on specific days. Some people may say, well, no, they can't make all these events happen. Nobody's that evil. Oh, no, people are that evil. If you believe your own history, and if you believe that Hitler was that evil, people are that evil. I mean, come on. You will listen to every atrocity in the world that the Nazis supposedly did, yet you can't believe that anybody now could ever do that again. Was it just because everybody decided to listen to their own history and not repeat it based upon that? So you think that no one else can be that evil ever? That's delusional. That's absolutely delusional. And it has gotten worse. There are people out there that are sick and evil, and they hide it. And they are hidden. And we are starting to see how they hide themselves, how much they've hid themselves. We're starting to see it. And a lot of them are scrambling to keep hiding it. Some of them don't care. Some of them put it right out in the open. They'll openly talk about it on television, because they know that so many people are so distracted from the truth that they're not going to look into it. They're not going to care, because they now have the term conspiracy theorist. They can just throw that out there, and you will be mocked and ridiculed and shamed, just like Jeremiah. That's a good segue to go into it, but I'm not exactly done yet. But it is just like Jeremiah. I mean, you remember the very first thing they said when he came, and when he was coming out to the priests, to the prophets, to everybody else, they said, well, you're not learned enough. You're not scholarly enough. You're not a politician. You are not a priest. You don't have the knowledge. Why should we listen to you? Everything that we've heard before from everybody else is just fine. You sound like a quack because you're going against what they're saying. And that is exactly what everybody that has spoken out against this stuff, that's what happens. They put that into the system. When somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist, it's because that person is so brainwashed that they cannot even remotely hear any truth about it whatsoever. What was the oh yeah, it was one of the comics. It was one of the comics. Somebody was in one of the comic books from 1970, I want to say 74, 75, somewhere around there. And they were reading a newspaper, And for whatever reason, they wrote the headlines on the front page of this newspaper so that you could actually read it. And it said something like, is Kennedy really still alive? And that was in 74, 75. And I got it. I got what they were trying to say is that, such a sensationalist news thing that, maybe they were reading like the Daily Sun or whatever the hell it used to be. And, but it made me chuckle is what it really did, because I was like, even 10 years, 15 years, however long it was, even that long after Kennedy got killed. I mean, I know that there were people that were, as soon as it happened, people had questions. And within 5 years, there were already theories. There were already people saying it didn't look right, it didn't feel right, it doesn't, there's something wrong going on there. But that has always persisted, and it's picked up steam, and then it'll drop again, then it'll pick up steam, and then it'll drop again, But that's where it started. That's where the CIA supposedly coined the term conspiracy theorist, is to keep you from listening to the truth. It's the same as it was in Jeremiah's day. Don't listen to this quack. Don't listen to this guy, because he's just spouting off nonsense. We can't even entertain the idea of what this person is speaking, because it's so far against what we want that we can't have it. We can't listen to it. And 9 times out of 10, it's because somebody's telling the truth. Because somebody says something, and all you have to do is just take 2 seconds to turn around and look at it. We can talk about Kary Mullis all day. Karimullis. Kary Mullis all day. Who was he? He was the guy that invented the PCR test. Won a Nobel Prize for it. Talked about how certain people named Anthony Fauci, was using his tests incorrectly, about how it wasn't supposed to be used the way that they were using it. My video may very well get pulled off of the internet because I said that. Why? Because YouTube thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist for saying that. And yet it's true. All you have to do is go look it up. Go take 5 seconds out of your day to go look up who Kary Mullis was and the things that he said before he died. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's the truth. But people say you're crazy. But that's the truth. But it's part of the process of breaking down what has happened to you over the past 3 years. But people won't listen to it. People don't like to listen to it because, it's just a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, okay, YouTube, in order to overset the balance, because apparently YouTube says you can talk about that kind of stuff, but you have to have the counter argument as well. To offset that balance, Kary Mullis was discredited as a doctor far before he died. Why he was discredited, I don't know. But I would still say that the man who created the test that everybody seems to be using, that everybody seems to be puffing up the numbers of cases of certain things that we can't talk about, I would think that if somebody goes out there and says, hey, there's somebody that's using it wrong, maybe you ought to listen. It's like trying to talk about Bill Gates. It's like, I remember the very first couple months in 2020 when they locked everything down, and I was trying to tell everybody, Because there were people out there that were saying, "Oh, Bill Gates says that he's he's got this. He's going to do this for us. He's got a injection that we can use. It's going to save us." And I was saying, you know what? The same guy that says that he's got an injection that can save you says that he can also reduce population growth by 15% by using that injection. Oh, no, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You don't know what you're talking about. So I went and I got the quote. I went and I got the video. I went and I got the website. No, I'm not going to listen to that stuff. You're just trying to trick me and fool me. Seriously. When somebody is trying to save your life, why are you refusing to listen? Really? Come on. Don't do that. But that's how it is. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a scientist. You don't know anything. How could you know, how could you know what brought down the towers? How could you know if there really was somebody at Sandy Hook? How could you know that? Well, all you have to do is take some time out of your day to look at this stuff. Because I'll tell you what, in the world of constantly televised tragic events, things just starting to look a little false. They're not starting to look right at all. It's just the truth. Because you have a tragic event happen, and you see it once, and you're traumatized by it, and you can't go back to look at it. And I don't know why it is that only certain people can go back and look at it. Probably because they have the truth in them, and they can see it. So they go back and they look, and they say, well, that doesn't look right at all. It doesn't look right. So you try to wake somebody else up to it, but they don't want to see it because they're so traumatized by it. My mother refused to watch videos of the Twin Towers coming back down. I tried. I said, Mom, just look at them. Just look at them. Think about all those times you ever watched somebody bring down a tall building using explosives. Just watch this. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It was too traumatic. Why should I watch it again? I think my stepmother was the same way. She just wouldn't listen. She wouldn't talk to it. My dad's second wife, she just wouldn't do it. Wouldn't talk about it. Because they use the way you feel about it and not what you see against you. It's a mind manipulation that's been there for years. These people have 100 years of mental manipulation going against you ever since the creation of television, ever since the creation of movies. They have been finding out the best ways to manipulate and control you in order to get you to follow them. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that nobody seems to want to wake up to this. And what's worse is some of those people that I do know that are woke up to this, that are, they see it and they hear it. They're not so far in that they can hear all of it. They just want to hear a part of it that they want to hear. When you move outside of that realm, it becomes, oh no, that's crazy. That's crazy. Even I'm a conspiracy theorist, but that sounds nuts. It's like, wait. You'll believe this, but you can't believe this? Are you kidding me? The greatest example was Flat Earth. Hey, let's do Flat Earth. Why not? I've ran into some guys that are Flat Earthers, and what was it was they liked having all of the lowest level conspiracy stuff, but you start going up after that and they start getting, what was the best example? One of them was football. They wanted to talk about they wanted to talk about football and which team was going to win, which team was going to do this, which team was going to do that. And I said, you do realize that it's entirely possible for them to fake or to rig, there you go, to rig sports events. And it came back to me that no, it's not possible at all. On certain levels, maybe, but surely not in college football. Like, really? You know how much money is handed around in college football? Enough to fake college football scores. I've seen enough questionable college football games for me to ask questions. I said it's entirely possible that everything we know is fake. Oh no, it's not possible at all. What was the other example? Oh, we could talk about the Bible if you want. Same thing there too. That people can quote scriptures all day about flat Earth. People can quote scriptures all day about how evil the world is. Doing all this stuff, following the commandments. And yet they won't listen to a word I say when it comes to Christmas. They won't listen to a word I say whenever it comes to Easter. When it comes to these pagan rituals. Oh no, God made it okay for us to do this. Did he, though? Did he? Did God make it okay for you to eat from the tree of good? The tree of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil? Did he say it's okay? Really? I've gone over this many, many times. This isn't even about bringing a tree in. This isn't about anything. This is about not doing what the pagans do. But they don't want to believe it. And they actually threw other things back into my face. Well, if you're going to do that, then why aren't you, not clipping the sides of your beard? Or, why aren't you wearing blue tassels or whatever the hell it was? I'm like, you're gonna get on to me about the smallest of the commandments. You can't even get away from one of the biggest. Don't do that. Don't even start with that. All I'm trying to say is that these things we've done have roots, pagan roots. Maybe we should stop doing them. But you just want to be a conspiracy theorist tourist. Conspiracy tourist. There you go. I like that. Conspiracy tourist. You're a conspiracy tourist. You like the idea of being a conspiracy theorist. You like being on the outer edges, but you would rather worry about your life in this world and posting pictures of your children or your grandchildren or whatever it is, showing how good of a life you have, places that you've been, but you won't wake anybody up. You want to be a fringe conspiracy tourist. You just want to visit every now and then, but you don't want to tell anybody the truth. God, I've seen those guys. They just, because they don't want to take the extra step. They don't want to take the extra step. They don't want to admit it. And that's on them. For anybody else, your Bible says, Christ said, I would rather that you be hot or cold. I would rather that you pick a side, but you wanted to ride right down the middle. But you wanted to be lukewarm. You didn't want to have the fire, the passion. You didn't want to just let it go and do nothing. But you wanted to be right in the middle, mixing, doing the things that the pagans do while following God's word. As a good segue, that's exactly what happened to the people in Jerusalem when Jeremiah was there. It's because you didn't want to hear the word, because you wanted to mix God's word with pagan ideologies. That's exactly what this is. And it's somebody said that the Bible repeats life. Like you can find this repetition between the Bible and life itself. And as I read Jeremiah, and as I feel like I am falling into those shoes more and more and more, I am not Jeremiah, believe me. But as I feel like I'm falling into those shoes, that so many others are in those shoes, falling into that. I feel it every single step of the way. That's what it feels like. Trying to warn people, trying to talk to people, and it's all the same thing. Is they had the perfect system of God. All he told them to do was just follow what I tell you to do. Do not mix with the pagans. But then, hey, guess what? The pagans came in and they started mixing. They started not only not only falling away and mixing, or not falling away and doing what the pagans did. They started changing God's rules to fit with the pagans, dressing God's word up so that they could do these things, changing the pagan rituals just enough so that they could do them as well, calling them God's holidays. If there's anything to take away from Jeremiah, it's that. And guess what God did? Tore it all down. He kept saying, you can't do. What was I talking about? Somebody the other day. It was a meme somebody posted. It's a guy that I know that he was posting that it was a picture of the golden calf, and it was something like, when you leave your brother alone for 5 seconds and you come back and he's created a new god, or something like that. And it was the golden calf. It was about Aaron, and I was like, that's not even what that says. They didn't create a new god. They were making the golden calf in tribute to the Most High, because that's how they wanted to worship. Because the Most High wasn't there. He was on the mountain with Moses, creating the commandments. So they wanted to honor him. So they created this pagan altar. And when Moses and God came back down and saw this, God said, that is not what I want. So what happened? Boom. 3,000 people dead automatically. He said, do not worship me that way. Do not worship me the way the pagans worship their gods. That's where it starts. It doesn't start in Jeremiah. It doesn't even start in Exodus with Moses. It starts at the very beginning. Just do not do this. And then some snake comes along. It's like, did God really say that? Did God really say you shall die if you eat this fruit? Did God really say that you will be punished if you do some yoga? Did God really say that your nations will be burned down if you mix with the pagans? Did God really say that you're going to die if you bring a tree into your house? Did God really say that? Come on. You wonder why things have gotten so bad. Why the world has fallen into such evil and darkness over the past 150 years. It's because these things that he does not want us to do have popped up over the past 150 years. Anyways, I'm not gonna go on anymore. I've already spent 30 minutes as it is doing this. Jeremiah 47 is kind of short. That's why I let myself go. Sometimes I just have to let myself rant and rave because I see stuff and I'm like, man, that's, oh goodness. But I am going to just go through this. I'm going to try to make it a little short. The granddaughter is up. She is in the bedroom with my wife. When I left out of that room, she was awake. Hopefully she fell back to sleep. I actually prayed that she would go back to sleep, but I did hear my wife talking, so hopefully she got back to sleep. I don't know. I just... Because we both work from home, this is not an environment for kids, but because her daughter had to move back in with us. It's been a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little rough. These kids need to. Man, I don't want to send them anywhere. You know, it's just like we got to do something with these kids, but you don't want to send them in school because schools are terrible now. Schools are horrible. It's so hard to find good schools, and I don't know how daycares are anymore. I don't know what daycares even do either. It's so evil and dangerous. Like this is a problem I will put up with because I'm concerned. You know, I don't want to say I'm worried. I don't want to say I'm scared, but I'm definitely concerned that there are places outside of these doors that these kids could go that I don't want them there. And I don't want these kids out in the real world where so much evil and darkness is. It's just, I don't know, man. It's messed up stuff. Anyways, let's read Jeremiah 47. Follow along if you can, or if you want to. If not, that's okay. There are no pilcrows, which means this is 7 verses of just talking. But we'll go back through it again. That's how we always do. Alright. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines, before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl, at the noise of the stamping of the hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands. Because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines. I had to make sure I said that right. Because of the day that came to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For the Lord will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor. Baldness has come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. How can it be quiet, seeing the Lord hath given it a charge against Ashkelon, and against the seashore? There hath he appointed it. So now we're talking about the Philistines. Let's see, what was the last chapter was when we were talking about the Gentiles. Now we're talking about the Philistines. Back up to the top. So the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. I want to see, I just want to see what it says about the Philistines. And inhabitants of Philistia, descendants of Mizraim, who immigrated from Caphtor, to the western seacoast of Canaan. To the western seacoast of Canaan. Interesting. Let me see if... I like looking these things up. It's a person who is hostile or indifferent to culture and the arts, or who has no understanding of them. Yes, we like to joke, especially me and my wife. Whenever she doesn't know any nerd culture, I will always call her a Philistine. Especially when it comes to, like, a perfect example was Star Wars. Because we're nerds. We're nerd kids. What do you want? What was it exactly? There was one that was recent that we just did. It was something about Ewoks, and I'm thinking that she was talking about it was on the planet of Endor or something. It's where they had their base or something like that. And I had to call her Philistine. I said, no, it's on the moon of Endor, you Philistine. Something like that. Something ridiculous. It was something like that. We do that all the time, though. Ancient people who lived on the south coast of Canaan. There it is. After having already been subjugated for centuries by the Neo-Assyrian Empire, was finally destroyed by King Nebuchadnezzar of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. After becoming part of his empire and his successor, the Persian Empire, they lost their distinct ethnic identity and disappeared from the historical and archaeological record. Well, there you go. The Philistines were in Canaan, south coast of Canaan, no less. So the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Okay. It's interesting stuff to know. It's good stuff to know. And they're Greek, by the way. Well, no. No, I read that wrong. I'm sorry. They're not Greek. I read that wrong. It says from the Greek. But no, they're not. Alright. Sometimes Wikipedia is just stupid. Anyways. Yes, I know I'm using Wikipedia just as a surface level. Just because I know, and I don't subscribe to anything or everything Wikipedia. It is interesting. It's another thing too. Conspiracy guys that will believe that ancient buildings can be energy conductors, that the earth is flat, and that there were giant trees in the world that were cut down and are now flat mesas, like Devil's Tower. Will use Wikipedia as a major source of information. I've talked about guys that are flip-flopping now, and I'm like, ugh, cannot facepalm enough. I just think it's crazy, it's people that you thought you could trust, and they're out there now using Wikipedia just straight out. It's like, wait, what? You can't do any other research other than that? What the hell? What the hell, man? Thus saith the Lord, and yes, like I said, I'm just as guilty of it. I just needed just a surface level. That's all I needed. That's if all you want a surface level, there you go. That's fine. Remember, Wikipedia is what the masters want us to know. So when you look that up, that's what they want you to know. And that's fine. You can do that on a surface level and say, even even on a surface level, this says this says that. When you have to dig, you have to tell somebody, but you have to dig to get this other stuff. You have to really find this other stuff that's happening. But on a surface level, these are who the Philistines were. Just want to get that out of the way, because I don't want to be like that guy. I really don't. Verse 2, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl. So this is a flood that will overtake Philistia. I wonder if it ever talks about the waters receding. Because there was a flood, a second flood after the fact of the first big one, after Noah's flood. Whether it happened, how do I want to put this? We know, okay. We know that Noah's flood happened. And we know that it is entirely possible that the things that we find off the coasts of countries and continents, like the pyramids out there in Japan, off the coast of Japan, off the coast of China, the Bimini Road and the statues that we find down off the coast of Florida, the islands that you can find out in the Pacific, the South Pacific out there by Australia, the weird looking lines and roads that you can find on the maps out there, that all you have to do is just drop the waters 300 feet. Or was it 303 or 300 meters? I think it was 300 meters, so I think it was, 900 feet? Still. Even 300 feet will expose the shelf on Florida. The shelf on Florida is not that deep at all, and it extends for miles. It extends for many, many miles out off the coast of Florida. But even let's just say 600 feet. Let's just say you take 600 feet of water out, and you start exposing these places that have been built under the water. Those may or may not have been there before Noah's flood. Those may have been there after. We don't know. We really don't know. But all you have to do is take X amount of water away, and you have this never-ending road that goes across the entirety of the world. You don't need big, huge ships. You just need to walk it. Now, I've already said that there was a maritime law. There is a maritime system where these people were able to go around, and that even the Bible talks about those that were able to sail around and go to different places, and it's I still don't believe that this book just talks about this little tiny place over on the European African continent. I still think that when it says when the Bible says to go to lands, faraway lands, we're not just talking about going out to Greece. We're not just talking about going out to Spain or England from Israel. We're talking about faraway lands, because they had the ability. They had the ability to go wherever they wanted to. But it's entirely possible, for all these places to have been built up, and then water came in, this second flood. Now, Jasher even talks about 3 floods. It talks about one before Noah's flood, it talks about Noah's flood itself, and then it talks about a second one, or one that comes after the fact. There's other books too that have talked about at least 2 floods that have happened. This area where they're talking about here, it's prone to flooding. It's entirely possible. I get it. It could have been a localized flood too. Did the waters recede? I don't know. It makes you think though. You know, just maybe. Just maybe. And I'm not saying that's the way it was. Just trying to figure out where all this extra water came from. Why all this land was covered up. If it was pre Noah's flood, then hey, I get it. That's cool. You know, that's pre-flood artifacts. Maybe we ought to look into that. If it's post Noah's flood, then that helps us understand how everybody was able to get around the way they were able to get around. You know, I mean, Noah could build a ship. Noah could very easily have gotten off of the boat and then built another boat and then gone over to somewhere else and, you know, done whatever. But we are also talking about people that they got scattered from the Tower of Babel, went all the way across the world, took their legends with them. These people were not isolated. These people all came from one place. They all had the same religion, same understanding, same everything. They brought the same stories and tales with them. But they changed through the years. It was the old game of telephone. It just slowly changed through the years. The names changed, the numbers changed, but these people kept the same stuff. You know, the same ideas, but they spread everywhere. You get this stories of giants, sure, but you get this giant flood myth that covered the world everywhere. Everybody talks about it. The Aborigines in Australia talk about it. The Native Americans in North and South America talk about it. The Chinese talk about it. Africans talk about it. This great flood. These people came from one centralized point and spread everywhere. Whether they made ships or not, that's entirely possible. Who knows? But it would have been far easier if there was actually land there before this great flood. Who knows? Who knows? I'm just saying that. Just putting that out there, just trying to get that into people's heads that I think more than anything else, I'm trying to get it in people's heads that there's stuff underneath the water. There's stuff underneath the water, and I've already said it before, when you look at NASA doing quote-unquote spacewalks, you know, with these deep diver suits that they have, and they go underwater, maybe that's what we're looking at. Maybe that's why we see bubbles in the waters, because they're not just doing it inside of some fish tank somewhere. Maybe they're actually way down deep. They're looking for something. They're digging up the past. They're trying to find the pre-diluvian, or no, it's called antediluvian, you know, Nephilim, what do you want to call, artifacts. The stuff that they had before the flood. Maybe that's why all this technology came in, because they were able to start diving down. They're trying to uncover this stuff. Who knows? Again, it's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff to think about. I'm not saying it's true, because I can't, all I can do is speculate. But this is a flood. The water shall rise up, and it shall wipe you all out. So verse 10, at the noise of the stamping of the hooves of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For the Lord will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor, which is what that just said earlier, is that these people came from Caphtor. Where did it say that exactly? Who immigrated from Caphtor, possibly Crete, to the western seacoast of Canaan. So they were not there beforehand, but they came into Canaan, and now it's saying, hey, you came into this place. It's not a good place, but because you wouldn't listen, just like everybody else, you are going to be cut off. Verse 5, baldness has come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnants of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. Yeah, okay. O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. Please, Father, do not bring any more pain and suffering upon them. That's what that is. It took me a second to read that and to understand it. How can it be quiet, seeing the Lord hath given it a charge against Ashkelon and against the seashore? There hath he appointed it. How can this destruction stop whenever God himself said, I will bring all of this upon everyone, every place, everywhere. I said I was going to bring this evil upon you, and I will bring this evil upon you, because you just wouldn't listen. Because no matter how much I said, no matter how many of my prophets I sent out to you, how many people I told you, or I sent out to you that would tell you straight up, you need to stop doing this. No matter how much I tried, no matter how much I wrote it down, no matter how much I gave you signs, no matter how much I did all of this, you still fell away. You were still caught in the traps and the snares of evil men that want nothing to do than hurt you and destroy you and manipulate you. You fell into it over and over and over, and now you're getting what you deserve. Because you just wouldn't listen. God tried. God tried. He tried over and over and over. And still, nothing. It is absolutely amazing. Is the more I read about how many people, how much he has tried to warn us, how many times he has said, just listen, just stop being humans, just be spirits of light, be good, stop being dark, stop being evil, watch out what you're doing, just be careful. Still. And you know there's people like that in the world. You know there's still people like that out in the world now. They just won't hear it, no matter how much you try. And you can beat yourself against that brick wall all day, and they just will not. And it's sad, you know. It's sad and it's sad and it hurts. And not everybody's going to hear the truth. And it honestly hurts every time I have to walk away from an argument saying the truth is not for you. You know, and you have to apologize for it. It's like, I'm sorry, but the truth is not for you. You've refused to listen up until this point. The truth is just not. It's not there for you. If only people would listen. If only... I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it wasn't much of a chapter. You know, they can't all be zingers. What do you want? Tomorrow's a big one. 48 is 2.5 pages, give or take 2.5 pages. Yeah. Well, look forward to that. Tomorrow being a 223. Yeah, just be wary. Just be wary, watch out. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes on the background, because they may not do anything up front, but in the background there might be something, you know. And I only say this because we know the numerology is there. We know that the symbology is out there. We may not see it directly, because you got to remember 9/11 crept up on everybody. Nobody saw that coming. It wasn't until after it happened that everybody saw that it was a thing. You know, it wasn't until after the fact that everybody saw it in movies. Everybody saw it on the clocks and the backgrounds of movies. Everybody saw it on the rings, above the doorways in Rome. You know, Roman architecture. They started seeing IXXI. And before, it didn't mean anything. You know, it just was like, oh, hey, look, it's a thing. But as soon as that happened, it was like, oh, that says 9/11. So it wasn't until after the fact. So we know that there are certain numbers that mean certain things. 223, 322. That's a number. Just like I said, it's like 311 or 113. It's a number. 113, 923, 239, 234, 237. Yeah, I see them everywhere now. It's like my entire life is run by numbers, because I see them every single time I'm watching TV or watching a movie or something. You can see it. It's on a clock in the background. It's written down somewhere. It's whenever you watch news reports on televisions, it's usually Channel 9 and Channel 11. I'm not kidding. The last time I saw it was in the new Stallone movie on Prime, where he was a washed up superhero. And it was a kid that was trying to get him to become a superhero again. And the news reporters came up and were talking to him or something, and you could see it. It was on the you know, the little call letters on the side of the microphones. It was a 9/11, and I'm like, man, are we still pushing 9/11? Really? Even to this day, we're still pushing this stuff? I think he lived in apartment 239, if not 238. Because the apartment across from him was 239 or something like that, you know. They usually do that so that when you open the door, like what was the Twilight Zone episode, the one where they were in the I can't remember if it was the guy or the woman. I think it was the guy, that he went down to the casino. They stayed in a casino, you know, and they weren't really gambling, but he had to go back because he was like addicted to it. But every time they opened the door across the way from them was 27 or something like it. Or it was a 23, I think it was. I don't remember exactly what it was now, but it was one of those things. Every time they opened that door and you could see the room across the hall, I'm like, they did that on purpose. That's legit, is what that is. That's a sign. And you see that constantly. Sitcoms, I see it all the time. They open a door and the one across the hall is either a 13 or a 23 or 72 or, something crazy. It's always been there. It's always been there, and they've always been putting it in front of your face. Now, I have said before, it could be evil men signaling to each other that, hey, we're all a brotherhood. This is all a part of the same thing. This is all what we do. Or it could be God showing us something. It could be God putting that into our heads. This is something you should be looking out for. Now, I've heard people say, well, if God were doing that, Why couldn't he make it more clear? I agree with that. On the same token, who knows? Remember, everything is of God. It's his. He can do whatever he wants to with it. Evil men use it against us, but in the end, it's still God's. It's still his plan. It's still his show. So, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. But it's a warning. We know for a fact there are evil men in the world that want nothing more to do than to hurt us, destroy us, enslave us. There's been many that have told us straight to our faces. It's not on the nightly news, but it's there, They've said, we think that, well, they've come out and said it, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will live in a 15-minute city. You will eat bugs. You will not own a car. You will be taxed until the day you die. You will live on a social credit system where every single movement you make, everything you do, will be monitored, tracked, and traced to make sure that you are being a good slave, that you are not going against the system. I didn't say this. They've said this. It's what they've wanted to do for years, and they're slowly implementing it. And it's all coming into place. It's not fake. It's the truth. It's slowly coming into place. You're called a conspiracy theorist. Oh, it's just a conspiracy. The New World Order is just a conspiracy. I had a guy tell me that just a month ago. Oh, the New World Order is nothing. It's just fake. Oh, there is no tracking and tracing anything. Oh, it's nothing. All of this stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. No, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't even taken 2 minutes of your time to even remotely look into it, because it would shatter your false sense of security of this world, because you love this world too much, because you're scared. You're scared of dying because there's nowhere for you to go, because you have no God. You're scared of living because there's nothing for you here. That everything that you have in this world can be taken away from you on a whim. That if you even remotely consider that option, that means that you'd have to change your entire life. You're scared of the truth. You would rather exist in this world, going out, having all of the pleasures that you can, but you can't even live. That's not living. That's dying. You're dying in this world. You are existing for sin. And to even consider that somebody evil out there may be trying to hurt and destroy you, you can't do it. That's where people are in the world right now. That's this whole system. That's how everything's working. And that's why they don't want to hear it. And I will say that until the day I die. They don't want to hear it because of that. Because they know, more than anything else, they know that if they even considered it to be true, their entire universe would fall. Because they can't give up their unrighteousness. They can't give up their darkness. They can't give up their evil. They can't give up their sin. That ain't my words. That's the Bible says that. That's truth. What do you want me to say? It's, God sends them the deception. He gives them that pleasure in their unrighteousness because that is what they want. He will give that to them. He doesn't want them to do it, but he's not going to force them to do it. He can't force them to do it. If God forced everyone to be good, if he immediately got rid of all evil, if he did the things that everybody asks us, well then why doesn't God do this? Then he would not be a just and loving God. He would be a tyrannical dictator, forcing people to do things that they don't want to do. Ain't nobody forcing you to do anything. All those Christians that are out there forcing people to do things, they're not following the right way. They might be putting out evil, which is what we should be doing anyways. Speaking up the truth, but, you know. Who was... No, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to go that far into it. There's other things I can get into. Other things I can say. I just don't. Not today. I'm not ready for that argument today. But true understanding of the word is not what most of the quote unquote Christians of this world push. True understanding is following Christ, following Christ's words, following God's words, and trying to warn others. Not forcing. Just telling them, letting them know. Pushing evil back with the sword of the Spirit. Putting evil away when God says to put evil away. There's always more to it than that. But in the end, that's what it comes down to. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm trying to, because, you know, you get like that. You get, you know, when you say put evil away, you know, it automatically starts sounding like, well, you need to go out there and you need to start fighting the wars and fighting the battles. And again, over the past year, I've had the talks with the Father that has told me, hey, you know, that's not it. You're going a completely opposite way. That doesn't mean that, you know, you don't fight the wars and the battles whenever God tells you to. Doesn't mean that at all. It means that you expose it. You bring it out into the light. You show others. And you tell them, this is not the way it's supposed to be. You tell them, hey, this is the darkness that's happening here, and it needs to stop. Sadly, unfortunately, we are so far past that point that people have accepted evil and darkness that if you try to expose it now, you just, you know, people aren't going to listen to it. They're not going to care. They're going to say, no, those, you know, let that happen. It's okay. It's not hurting you. it's not hurting me yet. It's going to hella hurt you here in a little bit. You just need to open your eyes. It's going to come right to your doorstep, and you're going to be surprised and amazed when it does actually hurt you. So you have to be ready, be wary, be prepared. Speak out. Speak the truth. Always speak the truth. Alright, I gotta stop. That's about as far as I can go. It's about as far as I can go with it. Oh, my neck is hurting. I think I slept on it wrong. Yeah, Father, grant us understanding. Grant us understanding. Grant us peace and wisdom and knowledge of your word. Because, man, we need it at this point. We all need it. I don't have any words of wisdom for that or after that. That's all I can say is, you just read through it time and time again, and you hear the things that God has told others, and you put it in context of what the world is going through right now, and you get that understanding of how things are constantly on this repeating loop that we just cannot seem to get it through our heads. And that's because so many now have become deceived and fooled by a completely washed out church that says that all we need to do is just be loving and caring of each other, that Christ will bring us together, even though Christ himself said that he will separate us. So I mean, anyone that tells you that Christ is there to bring you together is probably wrong. Christ himself said, I am here to tear people apart. Is that there will be those that will fall away from you because of me. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that he is, going to divide the whole world and that he will divide, Christians apart from each other. Even though, but he did say, he will be turning mother against father, son against daughter, the whole deal. That anybody that says, all are welcome, that's not what's happening. Even when Christ was walking the earth, his own words, he said it himself, his own words were starting to be manipulated and turned. It's that you have to read the book for yourself, use discernment for yourself, that you can't trust very many people anymore. That was the other thing I was hearing too. Somebody was saying something I just saw this morning. It was they were talking about this great revival of people that are coming to God, supposedly. And this person that was tweeting it he's about on the same page as I am. He understands a lot. He understands somewhat more than I do, and he doesn't understand other things. But he was talking about, well, if it is a true revival, then, how good it is, how amazing it is that so many people are coming back to God. And all I can think about, again, is the litmus test. What's the litmus test? If it is the broad way or the narrow path. If so many people are coming back to God, what does that say about where they are? Are they getting the right information? Are they getting the right learning? I don't know. I can't say for certain. I just know that when I read the Bible and it tells me that there is a broad way and a narrow path, it means that we're talking like 10-15% of all people are doing it right. Maybe even less than that. I don't know. It's not like it gives us a percentage, it just tells us. So if everybody's coming to it, how does that work out? I don't know. It's interesting to contemplate. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna do whatever. I know that it says in the end there will be a great falling away, not a great coming back to. Well, it did say there will be a lot that will come back, yes, but says that there will be a falling away before that. Oh, maybe we're seeing. I don't know. I need to quit speculating. I'm not worried about it. I need to stop. We need to focus on going to work. So I will talk to y'all later. God bless everyone. Take care of yourselves. I know I start. It's these. You get those thoughts and you just want to kind of follow them along, but it's just like you can get on that path, and you can just kind of keep going and keep going and keep following it, and eventually you'll start digging yourself deeper and deeper into a hole that you can't pull yourself out of, and you're like, well, wait a minute, And then you start doubting, and then you start thinking about other stuff, and so I just need to stop and walk away from it. Maybe I will think about it later. So, you guys take care of yourselves. God bless. Don't listen to me. Find out the answer for yourself. I shall talk to you later. Bye.